You hear that?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Today we'll be learning about continental drift and plate tectonics. First, we must learn about the man who came up with the theory of continental drift, Alfred Wegener. He was a German scientist and proposed the theory in 1912. He proposed that all continents formed a single landmass, Pangaea, which broke up and drifted to the present location. Let's look at the evidence supporting continental drift. Number 1, there are similarities in the coastlines of continents. For example, look at Africa and South America. They fit together like jigsaw pieces. Evidence number 2, same fossils of plants and animals are found on those separate jigsaw pieces. Evidence number 3, the rock formations on those jigsaw continents are the same type and age. For example, Appalachian Mountains found in eastern North America are similar in structure and age to those in Greenland, Scotland, and Northern Europe. They all form a continuous mountain chain when put together. Evidence number 4, there is evidence of glaciers in Australia, South America, Africa, and India. All places are too warm today for glaciers to form, so they must have been closer to the poles in the past. Now that we've seen the evidence, let's look at how Wegener's hypothesis proved to be true. Seafloor spreading happens when the ocean floor spreads apart. The empty spot is filled with rising magma, which then cools to form a new rock. Let's look at the evidence which supports seafloor spreading. Number 1, a mid-ocean ridge means that rocks closer to the ridge are younger, and the farther you get from the ridge, the older the rocks get. Evidence number 2, paleomagnetism. During times of normal polarity, the magnetic field lines in the rocks point north. When a reverse polarity takes place, the field lines point south. The diagram shows the reversal happening twice. These field lines are present in iron-rich minerals found in the rocks. We've looked at the evidence of continental drift and seafloor spreading. Now let's look at the plate tectonics and how the continents actually move through the Earth. This theory states that the Earth's surface is covered in plates of solid lithosphere that move around on plastic rock of a stenosphere. Earth's lithosphere, or the crust on the upper part of the mantle, is broken into blocks or tectonic plates. These plates ride the asthenosphere, which is a solid plastic layer of the mantle. There are 2 plate types, oceanic and continental. Oceanic plates are more dense and made of rock rich in iron and magnesium. An example would be basalt. Continental plates are less dense and made of rock rich in silica. Examples would be granite. There are 15 major tectonic plates identified. These include continental, oceanic, or both. Scientists study the data from earthquakes and volcanoes to identify plate boundaries. These boundaries don't always match the outlines of the continents. There are 3 different types of plate boundaries: divergent, convergent, and transform. Divergent boundaries occur when plates are being pushed apart and magma is rising from below. New crust is made with this boundary, and this boundary causes mid-ocean ridges. The convergent boundary happens when 2 plates collide. There are 3 conclusions that can occur. Ocean plates can collide with continental plates, 2 continental plates can collide to form mountains, or 2 oceanic plates can collide. The transform boundary happens when 2 plates slide past one another horizontally. An example of this boundary would be San Andreas Fault found in the western United States. So what causes the plates to move? Convection. Remember that convection is the movement of heated material due to the differences in density, which is caused by the temperature differences. This process happens inside the Earth and causes the plates to move. As a wrap-up, let's watch the following video about continental drift and plate tectonics.
But the huge molten core contributes something else essential for life on Earth. A way of helping to regulate the planet's temperature. It's a remarkable system. Magma heated by the core rises towards the Earth's surface. As it spreads sideways, the Earth's crust is very slowly dragged apart. This moves the continents, creating the Earth's restless and ever-changing surface.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it.
One of New Zealand's biggest cities is in ruins right now. A powerful earthquake toppling buildings in Christchurch. It is the second major quake to hit Christchurch in just 5 months. This time we understand members of a U.S. delegation were there. All of them are reportedly fine. We've also learned that 9 U.S. congressmen had just left Christchurch right before the quake hit.
February 22nd, 2011, about 180 left us and ascended to heaven. Grand churches knelt before the Lord, splaying out their feet. Buildings that had stood for years now lay down to sleep. Steadfast soldiers stayed in line, others swayed in time. Brick and mortar lost the game to the player made of pine. The bells on the top of the steeple fell on top of the people, as did many a rock expelled from the top of a steeple. A toy box of slotted blocks stacked up to make office blocks is knocked and topples off its plot, drops to a squat and stops. Shops, cars and buses destroyed, busted, crushed like toys. Just confusion in the dust and noise. Sirens faded on a brutal and scary view. We can now agree that Newton's theory is true. What goes up must come down. The universal pain of just one town, Christchurch.
As the aftershocks continue. Cameron?
Sarah, thank you. And joining me now, FEMA's Deputy Administrator Tim Manning on the phone from Christchurch, New Zealand.
I've got a floor plan here that shows incidences, and it appears to be more than just coincidence. The evidence appears to be covert influence, a sequence of events that are more than just coincidence. So many incidents, somewhere there's blueprints that show this instance was more than just coincidence. The evidence appears to be covert influence, a sequence that are clearly more than just coincidences.
I want to go to retired Coast Guard Admiral Thad Allen, who was in Christchurch, New Zealand, where this quake hit. Admiral, I'm very pleased to find out that you're okay too, but what were you doing there?
To explain what I'm about to, we have to go back near a century. Tesla sent electricity through the air independently. Consequently, without consent, the US seized his invention, sealed in the center of sensitive secrets, secured for selfish intention. Yes, it was stolen for the American dream of war and a global weather controlling scheme. The regime can beam offshore, but this ELF projector needs conductors to comply. So planes spray metal oxides and construct them in the sky. Was this technology used to enhance the blind thrust on a full moon high tide and blame it on colliding crust? Nature cracked, I take facts, and Occam's razor makes a track. And cause of this, New Zealand has its own Patriot Act. A tide so slick in action, we can't escape the rip. Take a dip in the sinkholes and liquefaction, enhanced nature strip. In our loyal infancy, we were stolen by the Royal Infantry, and the foreshore and seabed was sold to the oil industry. With these aspects joined together in a naturally forming weather, rainbow clouds and planes scattering matter all in the ether. We Kiwis hardly peep and tend to run from trouble, but f*** that, it could have been me condemned under the rubble. Three stooges enter stage right and charm the meek. See through intentions they strike and command the weak. Policies take flight in daylight, alarms repeat. Arrest Parker, Key and Brownlee and demand they speak. Their band-aid is band-paid, a blank page of planned trade that fits well into the notion that this quake was man-made. On reflection, the second line of the song is wrongly worded. Correction, the people that are gone were murdered.